Hey, I'm Josh with Expats Everywhere, and today I'm in sunny southern Spain, and I meet with Sam from Holborn Assets. We sit down and talk about the top 5 golden visa options in the world, and one of them is more affordable than you think. Let's find out. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Let's chat about the top 5 countries for golden visas.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about some of the cheaper options too.
Yep.
So we're gonna go in no particular order. You can kind of throw whatever countries at us that you wanna tell us about.
Okay.
What are the top 5 in the world for your company?
So at the moment, the ones we're doing the most of, not necessarily in this order, would be Portugal, Spain, Malta, Greece, and St. Lucia.
St. Lucia?
St. Lucia.
Okay.
Yeah, and there is
Never
a
been
reason
there?
for that. Yeah, it's a beautiful country. But yeah, all of them are very different options for people, and some of them wouldn't suit some people, some of them wouldn't suit others. But they're all kind of unique in their own way, with some of them with very sort of low entry points to them.
Okay, so let's go through some different criteria. Let's talk about what some of the investment options for the golden visa are, maybe processing time for that golden visa, because some places are more bureaucratic than others, and it can take longer. Pathways to citizenship, because a golden visa doesn't always promise citizenship.
Correct.
And then at the end, we'll talk about price. Like at the end of each country, we'll talk about price. How does that sound?
Yep, fine.
Okay.
Yep, that sounds good.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Spain then, because we are here, and I'll talk about how the Spanish golden visa works.
Sure.
So Spain has a number of unique points to it. Okay, so first of all, with Spain, you don't have any minimum stay requirements in Spain.
Okay.
So in order to get your golden visa, you don't need to be spending any time whatsoever in Spain. Okay. Now you can change that golden visa into a passport, into citizenship.
Okay.
In either 2 years or 10 years. And that depends on what passport you hold on your application.
Like nationality, whatever nationality you are.
Correct. Okay, so if the 10-year route, then that would be, I would say, for the majority of people.
Okay.
So you have to wait 10 years before you get your citizenship passport. For some people, if they've got an ex-Spanish colony passport, they can do it within only 2 years.
Okay.
So get your passport in only 2 years. And there are quite a lot of ex-Spanish colony passport holders that are out there. So
we'll pop that up on the screen.
Absolutely.
So I don't want you to have to rattle all the countries
I'm
off.
pleased you said that. So that's a really great option if people are ex-Spanish colony.
Okay.
Would be worth pointing out at this point, if you are ex-Spanish colony and you want to get the passport, so you want to do that within the 2 years, you do have to spend over 6 months a year in the country to get the passport. So there are no minimum stay requirements. It's only for the golden visa, not if you then want to convert it to citizenship.
Got it, okay.
The same thing applies if you're doing the 10-year route, you have to spend 5 years, the end 5 years, for over 6 months a year in the country.
Okay.
To then convert that over to citizenship.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep, fair enough.
Minimum investments. So when you're looking at Spain, your minimum investment amounts you're going to look at is 500,000, and that would be within property investment.
Okay.
So there's other types of investments you can do, but that could be
They're
1 million,
higher.
2 million, tends to be far, far less. The majority, and when I say the majority, the sort of 99% of people that would do it will go down the property route for 500,000.
Okay, can I ask something specific about the property route?
Yes.
Is this a property that, let's say, maybe costs $500,000, and then you want to invest $250,000 to purchase the property and $250,000 to rehab it, and then the total price is $500,000?
No, it's whatever you buy the property for.
Okay.
So it's what it is. So, and then that includes, yes, I mean, people have asked it before, because it's actually any property you've owned since 2013 can count towards the 500,000 mark. It doesn't have to be one property. It could be
portfolio.
It could be a portfolio of property.
Okay.
But it's the purchase price of properties. So let's say in 2013, 2014, you bought a property for 200,000 euros, and now it might be worth 300,000 euros. It would be 200,000 euros that counts towards the golden visa.
Okay.
But your total portfolio can be as many properties as you want, and it includes the Spanish islands as well, the Balearic Islands.
Okay.
Has a total of 500,000.
Okay.
But you can do that via commercial or residential. We do say in Spain, particularly commercial is cheaper from a taxation perspective. It can be about 40 or 50,000 euros cheaper purchasing a commercial property than a retail property.
Okay.
But as I say, Spain's very popular in terms of the no stay requirements and the property option.
Okay. One more point of clarification, just for the audience. I think I know the answer to this.
Yeah.
this is a cash purchase, not like with a mortgage.
Absolutely correct. Good that you brought that up. It is, yeah, it has to be a cash purchase.
Because some people think that it's just the purchase price, and if I get a mortgage on it, it's okay if it's $500,000.
You have to have 500,000 of your own money invested in there. You can get a mortgage for the bit above, for example.
So if it's €1 million property and you put $500,000 in cash in and get the other $500,000 from the bank. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's so again, as I said before, property very popular route in because in itself, property is a good investment. Spain is actually a very good country to have property investments in. The market is actually very strong in Spain. Okay. So yeah, good investment options there. Okay. So yeah, return on investments with Spain. Okay, there's a number of ways you can do this. So obviously, if you're looking in the real estate market, then property prices tend to go up over a sort of 5-10 year period. So you know, you're going to expect some good levels of growth. I think Spain last year, depends on the region, you're looking at 8 or 9% potential growth in the last year in Spain, but obviously that does vary region to region. So you're looking at good levels of growth. There's also investment packages you can put together where people would, for example, because you're going to have the passport, say, in 2 years or 10 years, you can have guaranteed buybacks. So you can actually introduce guarantees within property as well. Okay. So it might not be as exciting as, say, selling to the open market where you can make more, but there's potentially ways that you can, for example, do a 10-year scheme, and at the end of the 10 years, you have a guaranteed buyback for the amount that you put in, and for the 500,000. So there are schemes such as this if people don't want the risk, but there is also other options, whereas property itself, you'd expect to make a very sort of healthy return on that.
Okay. It's something that your company does, these types of schemes?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we do find we have a lot of people that just simply don't want risk. You know, they don't want the risk on investments. So we put together packages for people that maybe want to be a bit more excited with their investments in terms of maybe making a return, or for people that just want to be a lot more safe and secure and not worry about it at all. So yes, we would do that as well.
Okay. What are the processing times to get the visa done?
Yeah, so processing times with Spain are very, very good. Okay. So you're normally looking from starting a process about 3 months to getting the stamp in your passport that gives you the right to live, to work, to reside in that country, and normally a further 3 months to do your biometrics and to get your NIE. So in total, we say 5 to 6 months, and you'd have gone through the whole process and you'd be a holder of the golden visa. So very, very quick process.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's, I'll say at this point as well, the Spanish consulate give a 21-day turnaround, working day turnaround for once you've actually have the deeds for your property and you're making that application to get your golden visa. They have a very quick turnaround of that where they actually give you a specific amount of time. As I say, with holidays and things such as that, it can be longer. But again, very, very quick processing time compared to other types of investment schemes and golden visa schemes.
Okay, nice. Let's hear about Greece.
Okay, Greece is an interesting one. Greece has a lower entry point than the other golden visa schemes. Okay. And it is a scheme whereas you can turn your residency into citizenship. So we'll just sort of talk briefly around this. Obviously, residency is a different thing to citizenship. Citizenship is your passport, being a passport holder, but not every scheme in any country allows you to go from one to the other. Okay. It might just purely be a residency scheme. But
and we'll talk about another one on this list,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Okay. We'll talk about that one. But this one is great in terms of you can actually change your residency to citizenship within 7 years. Okay. But you need to do, similar to Spain, 5 years of spending more than half the year in that country. Okay. So it almost shows your commitment to wanting to live in that country. So within 7 years with Greece, you can actually become a passport holder of Greece. And Greece is the 4th strongest passport on the list with some other countries, the 4th strongest passport out there as well. So it's a very strong passport and does help with that moving around Europe.
So there's a group that's like tied for 4th, right?
Yes, there is. Okay. Yes, there's a few tied for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. So yeah, and it's really to do with the amount of access it grants you to other countries around the world. And that's really how they put that together. And obviously some countries just have the same amount of benefits, if you like.
Okay, and spending half the year in a country also would make you a tax resident,
correct,
right? Okay.
Yes, so you would become a tax resident. One of the advantages of Greece, though, Greece actually has a very low
tax,
low cost of living. The actual cost of living in Greece is very good. So as a country, people like Greece. It's actually a really good place to live. And as I say, it's a lower entry point than what we're looking at with regards to Spain and Portugal as well.
Okay, so what are some of the investment opportunities?
So investment opportunities when you're looking at Greece, So Greece would be residential property. We don't tend to look at commercial. It's not very good, particularly in Greece, whereas it is in Spain.
Okay.
So you would be looking at residential options. You can do residential options for as little as 250,000, which is incredibly good. But that is only for certain areas. So what's happened with Greece, similar in a way to what happened with Portugal, which we'll come on to, but property in certain areas has gone up quite considerably. So what the government are doing about that is they're still offering low opportunities in certain areas where you can purchase for 250,000.
Right.
But in a lot of the more expensive areas and more developed areas, it's 500,000.
Right.
So yeah, with regards to the regions in Greece, okay, so you can do it for as little as 250,000.
Yeah.
Okay, the 250,000 has to be in specific areas, because similar to what's happened in Portugal and to some degree it's happening in Spain as well, when the house prices are going up too much, they remove that as an option, make it more expensive to invest in that area. So
Right.
the 250,000 option is only in certain parts of Greece. The more developed areas, the more busy areas, your actual investment amount there would be more like 500,000, which is similar to the same as what it is in Spain.
Okay.
So, but they are great. And again, we would look at residential with regards to Greece, and there are some great opportunities in Greece in terms of investments in residential.
Okay. So something that costs $250,000 is like, what's the level of that type of property? Like, is that really high-end property, or is that something that's more middle of the road? Like, is it luxury or?
You wouldn't, in Greece, it depends on the area. You can
Okay.
imagine some of these very rural area. You would be in a very rural area.
Okay.
So
got it.
it's one of these things that makes it more difficult to, I suppose, gauge what sort of return you'd expect to receive.
Okay.
Because you can really understand maybe with the more developed areas and bigger cities, you can understand what you would expect to get over a period of time. When you're buying rural, you can get nice property. But what you're ultimately going to make on it maybe makes it a little bit more of a tricky investment.
Okay.
However, the way to look at that is there's some very good opportunities for 250,000. It is a very low entry point for property.
Yeah,
and part of,
absolutely.
Greece is a developing country, and you would expect to start to get some very good returns on there.
Okay.
But again, perfect for people who really do want to settle down and live in a country like Greece.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Awesome. And in terms of the different types of investment vehicles, you're mainly recommending the residential properties, not commercial properties, not doing some of the bonds or other investments.
The bonds and the other investments, again, a lot higher entry point.
Okay.
With Greece, as we sort of mentioned with Spain, commercial is, from a tax perspective, a lot cheaper. A lot.
Yep.
It makes more. If you put your financial advice hat on and we're talking to people, then commercial would make more sense for Spain. If you take your heart out of it and you look at it as a pure investment, then commercial is better because you're saving a lot in tax. That's not the case in Greece. That difference wouldn't make any difference. And in fact, residential would end up being a more secure investment than what commercial is.
Okay, got it. We ready to move on to the next country?
Yes. Where
Portugal?
Let's do Portugal.
Let's go. Let's go back to Portugal.
Portugal. So Portugal is traditionally, as I'm sure a lot of people being aware, was one of the main routes to EU residency. People love Portugal because Portugal essentially had a very low entry point, which was 280,000. You could invest into property all around the country, and you can get your passport within only 5 years, which is incredibly good. With only 1 week stay, so you only had to stay 1 week a year. So over the 5-year period before you got your passport, you had to do 5 weeks of staying in the country. So very, very popular from that point. 280,000 entry point, really, really good.
Yeah.
However, as people may or may not be aware, last year it was announced that that would change. So property now is no longer an option with Portugal. So you cannot invest 280,000 in property. You can't invest 500,000 into a property. You cannot invest in property at all. And they've removed that as an option. Part of the reason, as I think we spoke a little bit about so far, is to do with the effect on the property
Housing
price.
market.
Yeah. And having this investment coming in is driving up prices. And that's the reason it's been withdrawn. So it's now maybe less popular than what it was. Again, people may be aware that the NHR regime in Portugal has been removed or has been grandfathered out. So again, that preferential tax regime that was there is no longer there. So again, it's maybe made it slightly less popular than what it was. However, it still has benefits. You've got that low stay requirement of 1 week per year for the 5 years. You get your passport in year 6, which is very, very good for people for getting a very strong passport. It's the 4th strongest passport in the world. So you're getting a very good passport, and you do have a low stay requirement there as well. So that's made it continue to be a popular option with people, and obviously Portugal is a beautiful country with a relatively low cost of living as well. So so it's a really good scheme. It's just had a lot more changes than maybe some of the other countries.
Okay, what are some of the non-real estate investment opportunities, since we've talked a little bit about real estate being part of the past? So what are these investment portfolios that you could do, or some of the other opportunities?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously people now need to look at what am I going to do then if I want my golden visa, because it still has these benefits. And the simple answer for that now is people are looking towards investment funds.
Okay.
So it would have to be a qualifying investment fund. So not every investment fund you can find in Portugal would be a qualifying one. You'd need to speak to a financial advisor and make sure that is one that would qualify. Okay. So when you're talking investment funds, you could be talking stocks and shares, that side of things. So you can make some good returns, but there is obviously potentially going to be risk there. You can invest in businesses. So business, for example, again, it's 500,000, but there's certain criteria with a business that it has to employ more than 10 people for a period of over 3 years. Can be very tricky, really.
It gets fussy, doesn't it?
It gets fussy, and you need to make sure, how can you make sure you've got 10 people over that period of time? And, you know, you need, again, to have expert advice on that. Yeah. But that is a way of doing it at a level more like 500,000. And sometimes when you look at businesses, businesses can include property in them, if you think about it, because you could, for example, be a hotel business in Portugal.
I see.
So there are investment options, we do for our clients as well, around the hotel option, where you can invest into a hotel complex as such.
I see.
And you can actually have, again, rental income paid up front. So you can sometimes do it for less than 500,000.
Okay.
Because the idea is you're buying at a lower point, being paid your rental income up front to bring you to the 500,000. And then in year 5 or 6, you have buyback options where there can be a guaranteed buyback, or you keep your property.
Amazing.
And sell it yourself. So
amazing.
Really good way of doing it. You get the best of both worlds, guarantees and the chance of making some money.
Okay. Are there also donation options, like cultural or heritage donations?
Yeah, there are. You get cultural or heritage donations. You've got to be careful because there are different amounts depending on what way you're looking to do it.
Okay.
And it has to be qualifying as well. So you need to do a lot of research to make sure, because that is a lower entry point.
Right.
But it is more of a, when I say grey area, you need to be very careful on what does qualify and is it an approved scheme or is it not an approved scheme?
Okay.
Quite often with these types, they're not really investments in a traditional sense. You wouldn't expect really to get a return, or certainly a good return potentially on these, because they would be considered higher risk from an investment perspective.
Okay. So processing time for these?
Processing time for Portugal, not so good news as Spain. You're looking around 15 months from the start to the end. So essentially, from starting that process of buying a property, you're looking around 15 months, and then you would get your golden visa. Okay. Where that is a problem for some people is if you think in 15 months you get your golden visa, but that would then be the start of your 5-year period. So actually, you're looking more like a 6.5 year period, and well, that's no good. So the government have looked at that because there's a backlog from last year where everyone rushed in and they did Portugal while it was still available, while property was still an option. So there's a backlog. So the government are kind of addressing that and essentially saying that from the start of that process now, that's when your 5 years will start, not from the 15 months it's taking you to get that golden visa. Okay. So it is speeding up that passport side of things. So that's a little bit of good news, but the processing time is quite long. Okay, good. Let's move on to the next 2 countries, and I think that they have some similarities with what we just talked about with Portugal, where there's like a donation option. Yeah. Okay. So these are probably less, I say popular, maybe it doesn't appeal so much to as many people. Got it. Would be a way of saying it. So Malta. Okay. So Malta is a very popular destination. It has lots of tax advantages in Malta as well. So Malta can be, popular for people to move to and live to. Sure. The thing is with Malta is only a residency program. Okay. So you're not allowed to convert your residency into a Malta passport. Wouldn't happen. It's basically the residency, and that will allow you to travel visa-free through the Schengen areas, through Europe, but essentially you can't at any point change that to a passport, so it's residency only. Okay. Processing times on Malta, you're looking around 6 months, 4 to 6 months, so it's a relatively quick processing time for that, not bad. Yeah. The good news for people looking at Malta is the entry amount, the cost amount for it. Okay. You're looking, depending on the fees and costs, around 130 to 140,000. Okay. So it's very low. However, this is not an investment as such. This is a donation. You're effectively buying your residency.
Yep.
Okay, so when we're talking about...
That money will not be returned.
That money will not be returned, it's gone. But then when you compare that as really as a percentage, say, of a 500,000 investment in some of the other options, it's for some people is actually an affordable amount to think, well, okay, for this amount, I've got this residency. I now have all the rights of an EU resident, and I can move around and I can travel as I want to.
Okay.
So we have found a lot of interest in that scheme. But
Sure.
as I say, because you're not getting these return on investments that you are with the other ones, then it is maybe more of a niche market than some of the others.
I see.
Okay, and if I talk about the final one because it's similar to that,
Yeah.
St. Lucia. So St. Lucia, obviously, you know, we're not part of the EU. We're not talking the EU here. We're talking with regards to St. Lucia. This is a citizenship scheme. So this is trying to confuse issues more. This is not residency only. This is pretty much citizenship only. So you would be given a St. Lucia passport, which is ranked, I think, number 27 in the world. So it's not the strongest passport in the world, but
Sure.
you would have the benefits of the St. Lucia passport. So you can move around to all the different islands around St. Lucia. So it's obviously a lovely part of the world to live in. And you can travel over with a relatively strong passport over to Europe and travel around. But you would be restricted by the 90 and 180 day rules.
Right.
Okay, but you are getting a passport and you're getting it for a low cost. Because the cost on this one, you're looking around 120,000. Again, depending on the cost associated with it, it's about 120,000.
120,000.
Yeah. So you are buying a passport, but this again is not. It's not going to have a return on investment. It is again a donation where you are buying that passport. But it could be particularly good for people that don't have a very strong passport, because these schemes will accept anybody from anywhere. Anywhere in the world to apply. And if you have got a passport where this is stronger, then, we found it has been very popular. And again, due to that low entry point. And it does give you visa-free travel in Europe for the Schengen areas as well.
Okay.
So it's a strong passport from that point of view.
And a right to live in St. Lucia?
Yes, right to live, and you would be treated as if you'd always lived there. You'd have all the rights of a citizen. So again, anybody that's interested in the islands there, it's a lovely place to live.
I know nothing about St.
No.
Lucia, so I'm curious, what's the cost of living like?
Cost of living in St. Lucia is relatively high. It's
okay.
not cheap, and I think a lot of them islands along there they're not the cheapest. The location you are there and being able to travel around is fantastic.
Got it.
But as a company ourselves, we don't see as much interest in St. Lucia. But again, it's just one of them, for certain people, when we go through all the different options for them, that one can stand out purely because you're looking at a fraction of the cost of your Portugals or even Spain's to a degree. So again, it could suit some people. So there's loads of these schemes out there. But again, this one stands out as a non-European passport scheme, citizenship scheme that is very, very popular.
And those are your top 5?
They are our top 5. I mean, we do all different schemes. We do USA, we do the United Arab Emirates, we do we've got St. Lucia, St. Kitts. I mean, we do any of the strong residency or citizenship schemes out there.
Okay.
We do them, but there's so many there that to find what is right for one person, it's just
you have to analyze, right?
You have to really analyse.
Yeah.
They go through somebody's situation and think, okay, what are you after? What do you want from that passport or that residency? And then we can fit you in with what we feel would be best for you from a cost perspective and from an investment perspective. Because as I say, it's certainly for our own perspective, we are an investment company. So first and foremost, we look at what is the best investment for a client, not just the golden visa or the residency, because as lovely as that is, people quite often do want to see a return.
Okay.
Or alternatively, you buy your passport, you buy your residency, which is another option as well that we can help with.
Okay, nice. If you want to know more about what Holborn Assets does, please contact them. We've put a link in the description section below, or you can email Kalie at info@expatseverywhere.com. and she'll introduce you to Sam and his team. Sam, thank you so much. Now, let's get moving. Bye.